Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Denise Pinkston, partner with TMG Partners.
As my introduction indicated, I'm a partner at TMG Partners. We're a Bay Area-based real estate development firm, and we have recently celebrated our 30th anniversary. Now, as a businesswoman and a mother of two teenage daughters, I am really proud to live in a place that promotes women to the highest reaches of public office and business leadership, as well as leaning in personally to make our world a better place for everyone. But I know we have work to do from a very personal level. If you look at the statistics, women fill only 20% of the board positions in U.S. stock-indexed companies. Only 26% of the workers in science, technology, engineering, and mathematics are women. And we've only just started to change the social perception of women, young girls, to make it cool for girls to be smart and to celebrate women in roles of leadership. Many women in the audience may have done this as well, but when I was a young woman, I got straight A's often, and I was the only one who knew except me and my parents, because it wasn't cool to be a straight A girl. And as a mom of two young daughters, I'm really gratified to see that individuals, entertainment leaders like Amy Poehler with her Smart Girls website, business leaders like Sheryl Sandberg and her Lean In program that have banned the word bossy for Girl Scouts in America, which is a fabulous idea. How many of us have been called bossy? I'm a proud bossy girl. And when it was used on me, it was not a good thing, I have to say. So promoting women's leadership and allowing women to feel good about being smart and leaders is a really important social component of promoting gender diversity in the workplace. Our next speaker is one of Bay Area's business leaders helping to lead the charge for an improved balance for gender diversity in the workplace. Shark Joseph Tsai is Chevron Vice President for Global Diversity. He served in many leadership positions with Chevron over his career, chemical engineer, and enjoyed a distinguished alum of Texas A&M University. Shark and Chevron are working to bridge the gender gap so that our daughters and our granddaughters will enjoy satisfying, well-paid positions in STEM fields that will drive the innovations of the next generation and solve some of our world's most daunting problems using their minds, their leaderships, and their hearts to make our world a better place. On a more personal note, Shark is a music lover, a football fan, a former member of the State Chamber of Commerce Board, and a current member of the San Francisco Board of Opera Directors, and near and dear to my personal heart, a Cal Bears fan. So, go Bears, and welcome Shark Joseph Tsai to the Bay Area Council.
Thank you, Denise, for not only that kind introduction, but really being a role model for us all in promoting diversity and particularly gender diversity. The story that I'm about to tell you is a story that was 20 years in the making. And it started with the realization that Chevron, as a member of the oil and gas group of industries, had to lead the way in an industry that was not known for diversity, and particularly gender diversity, that we had to make a change. And the change was not premised on any altruistic reasons, although it was certainly the right thing to do. It was premised on a strong business proposition. And that is the story that I want you to hear today. And hopefully at the end of my talk, at the break, we can have a conversation on some of the things that we were doing differently that resulted in us receiving the Catalyst Award. For those of you that are not familiar with Catalyst, it's about a 40-year-old organization that's quite arguably the leading organization for empowerment of women. It's a research organization, and for promotion of women into the corner suite, or in the diversity vernacular, what's called the C-suite. Typically, they recognize 1 to 2 companies, sometimes 3 or 4, with the Catalyst Award. And what they recognize is sustainability, uniqueness, and above all, results. And typically about 100 companies apply. About 8 to 9 are selected for site visits. And for those of you that are old enough to remember the Malcolm Baldrige Award, you submit about 500 pages of data. And then they come back and interview at the sites of these 9 finalists, everybody from the CEO to the refinery worker at the control tower on our crude pipe stills. So very extensive, extremely triangulated data, all based on data, and typically 1 or 2 get selected. And what I'm about to share with you at Jim's invitation is our story that led to the Catalyst Award that began 20 years ago. So let's begin by showing you a little video that we presented at the Catalyst Conference, and then I'll be back to chat with you.
The Chevron Way is a document that lays out the vision, the strategies, and the values of the company. Accountability for all the values and the entire performance of the company resides with me. I have to set the right example. And so with respect to diversity, I have to live that value. And I ask employees to test me on those and make sure they see me living up to those values.
Diversity is one of those critical Chevron Way values, and it's important for women in particular because traditionally women haven't been a big part of the oil and gas industry. And it's really been very exciting to see just in the past decade alone, we've had a 36% increase in the number of women petrotechs in our company.
The Women's Network was established in 2000. It's one of our oldest and largest networks. It has nearly 6,700 members in 40 countries, 10% of whom are men.
My father asked me once, why are you gonna go work for an oil company? You're a Latina, you're gonna get lost. My first day on the job, a woman who is a Latina was there, and she was a representative of Somos, the Hispanic Employee Network. And so there's a lot of attention to making sure that folks have the opportunity to grow and learn within the company, regardless of what career path you choose.
PDC stands for Personnel Development Committees. PDCs are bodies of managers who oversee groups of employees and they manage their talent. We have a large number of dual career couples in Chevron, and it's a business imperative that we, to the extent we can, move dual career couples together.
But I remember the day getting a phone call from Rhonda, and she said, hey, there is an offer on the table.
A former supervisor of mine said, I want you to go to London and I want you to do this job. And then he followed up very quickly and he said, and Jack can conduct his current assignment out of London.
And for the opportunity of going to London as a family was absolutely fantastic.
Looking at women coming into our company today, it's very impressive to see the growth and the technical capabilities. And to me, that's a direct payoff in our investment in STEM education. The quality of the women coming into our workforce today is just outstanding.
We establish accountability in our company through our performance management system. An integral part is our diversity action plan. Most of our employees, from the chairman down, are required to have a diversity action plan.
We want women to be successful in our company. We want people of color to be successful in our company. We want people of different religions, national origin, to be very successful. For me, the business case for diversity is the company can't achieve its best results if every employee doesn't have the opportunity to succeed. So if we value the uniqueness of the individual, we're going to deliver the ambitious business plans that we have.
So if we can bring up the slide presentation. This was given in New York. I'm sure you all know about Chevron, but we began by introducing our company at $220 billion in revenues. We were founded right here in California 135 years ago. We're involved in every aspect of the oil and gas industry and energy industry, from exploration and production to transportation, conversion, refining, manufacturing, and chemicals. We are ranked number 3 by revenues at about $220 billion in the Fortune 3. We have 61,000 employees, 28,000 are here in the US. We are a proud California company headquartered in San Ramon, California. So that kind of gives you an idea of our architecture. We're comprised of operating companies, and within the operating companies, we have strategic business units. So driving something as a central value in a federated model is not an easy thing to do. And what we realized 20 years ago, that unlike many other organizations that we had examined, that diversity could not be something extra, that you couldn't have an HR council that had responsibility and accountability for succession planning and promotions sitting over here, and a diversity council sitting over there without any responsibility or accountability other than lunch and learns and diversity awareness and unconscious bias training, because all those things are necessary, but they're not sufficient. Like many of you, we are a company that treasures what it measures. And what people treasure is accountability, and accountability is tied to progress and performance and results. So at the very, very outset, we said just as safety and operational excellence and performance relative to peers and performance in earnings were part and parcel of Chevron, so must diversity be. And 20 years ago, our CEO looked at a lot of data. And remember, this is data that has existed for 2 decades. And it is cause and effect, and it probably is several volumes of War and Peace. But here are the Reader's Digest conclusions of diversity and performance. Number 1, whether you look at return on capital employed, or return on shareholder equity, or in our case, earnings per barrel, or what we call operational excellence, which is safety performance, it is very, very clear that diverse organizations do much better, almost 62% better in earnings per barrel than those that are less diverse. And why is that? Because diversity leads to ingenuity, and ingenuity leads to innovation, and innovation leads to performance. So diversity and performance are linked inextricably. And if it's performance that you measure every day, in fact, every quarter, when your earnings are compared to that of your peers, when shareholders have an opportunity to make choices about where to invest in their money, why not invest in diversity? But we were sort of flummoxed as to how to do that. And we came up with this document called the Chevron Way. If you ask anyone at Chevron, what are the 2 characteristics of Chevron that stand out in their mind, the first they're going to say is the Chevron Way, and the second, they'll talk about our safety culture. But the Chevron Way is how we achieve results. And as you heard John Watson, our chairman and CEO, talk about, the Chevron Way encapsulates our strategies, which is invest in people, execute with excellence, and grow profitably. And the way we do that, how we comport ourselves, is based on 8 pillars. And one of those 8 pillars is diversity. And then we link performance and hold people accountable for achieving results so that we look more like our customers, so that we become more diverse, so that our earnings per share go up, so that we become more innovative. The Chevron Way is what governs everything we do, and diversity is part and parcel of that. So how do we establish accountability? Now remember, at Chevron, diversity is not a nice to have, it is a must have. In fact, your compensation is based on diversity goals, in part, perhaps including your performance. And in the video, you saw that diversity action plans are part and parcel of our performance measurement plan. So all of us, from the chairman down to the refinery operator, all non-unionized employees, are judged on the basis of performance agreements, or what we call our PMP. One of the aspects of the performance agreement is a diversity action plan. And the diversity action plan can vary from a single contributor to things like I will attend unconscious bias training, to when I was head of global marketing, I wanted to be held accountable so that my leadership team reflected the 80 countries that we operated in at the time. And these are measured over time, and every non-union employee at Chevron gets an incentive called the Chevron Incentive Plan. The Chevron Incentive Plan varies, of course, with your position grade, but it's multiplied by something called the individual performance factor. And one of the things that goes into the individual performance factor is how you comported yourself, did you deliver results the right way, and how you did on your diversity action plan. And it can go from a 0 multiplier to a 1.2 multiplier. So there is accountability, and it's measured just like performance in safety and earnings and operational excellence. One of the things that I mentioned is that diversity is part and parcel of our Human Resources Management Committee. We don't have a diversity council at the corporate level, although we do have 20 diversity councils throughout our operating company fabric that do things like lunch and learns, unconscious bias training, Black History Awareness Month, and we do have networks that have that remit. But since we are a company that is based on measurement and statistics, a company of engineers and analysts, we have established in our company 300 professional development or personnel development committees, or PDCs, that monitor the diversity of our feeder pool, the diversity of our executive succession plans, the diversity of our early executive leader potential, the diversity of our high potentials, and then this feeds up to the very top PDC, which is made up of John Watson and his direct reports, called the Human Resources Committee, where diversity is tracked and accountability is established. So how are we done? One of the things that we're very proud of is our employee networks, or what are known as ERGs or BRGs, employee resource groups or business resource groups. We have 12. The very first one we had was our Pride Network, which was established in 1990. We were the very, very first company in the oil and gas industry to offer domestic partner benefits, and we are the only company still in the oil and gas industry to offer transgendered benefits. So that sort of set the stage. Our latest network is called the Veterans Network, and the ERGs are based on a return on investment model of Michael Porter's called shared value. Of our 61,000 employees, there are 39,000 memberships and 21,000 members. So approximately each of our employees belongs to two networks. And everything emanates from the Chevron Way. We take a diagonal slice through the organization, and there are chairman's forums that John Watson has on a periodic basis whenever he goes out into the field or at the headquarters locations with the leaders and members of our network. So do all of his direct reports. Development is extremely important. There are 3 or 4 programs that we've listed here. Our Emerging Leaders Program, which we again monitor the diversity of through the PDC program. Our Chevron Leadership Forum, which is basically leaders coaching leaders. It has a simulation process, and then the Chevron Advanced Management Program, which is, again, to train future executives. Managing work-life priorities, what we call WorkLife Flex, is extremely important. There are 600 dual career managers and supervisors in our company. Every time we move one, we make it a point, and you saw Rhonda and Jack Morris. Jack was our Chief Technology Officer when I was head of global marketing. Rhonda was my VP of HR, and we promoted her to be Vice President of Marketing of our Europe, Africa, and Middle East operations. We moved them as a couple. They're just an example. And sometimes we have had discussions. For example, one of our recent moves, the colleague's husband worked for Accenture, one of the sponsors of today, and we engaged with Accenture to place that person in Cape Town. So this is a very robust program, and it allows us to make sure that both careers are given equal import. So think of diversity at Chevron as a supply chain. One of the crises that we face that the panel talked about is the number of women in the STEM field. But you actually have to parse that discussion even more. And let me just throw out some numbers. Approximately 56% of all college graduates are women. Approximately 80% of all veterinarians are women. The majority of doctors and now the majority of dentists are women. The majority of earth scientists are women. The majority of physical scientists are women. Those are all STEM fields. But what has been lost in this discussion on women in STEM is the E discussion, where E is engineering, and I would include computer science. You know, there's been a lot of discussion about STEM, but the point of fact is, in spite of the numbers that I just discussed, the number of women in schools of engineering in the United States peaked at 24% in 2004. It has since dropped in less than 10 years to 16%. And, you know, no one actually knows the reason why. There are a lot of theories. But we, together with our partners at Catalyst and True Blue Inclusion, and hopefully many of you, need to find a way to correct the situation. So we begin early. You know, we think one of the reasons is lack of role models, lack of interest, what Denise talked about. And we've invested over $130 million in the STEM field. But really, the emphasis needs to be in engineering and in computer science. And then we have a college partnership program that we call the University Partnership Program. We have 100 universities and colleges. We go into those universities and colleges and try to convert people that are liberal arts majors or other majors into engineering if we can. Results to be determined. And of course, we do hire a lot of engineers, 4,000 last year alone. In a pool that is 16% women, we've been able to hire about 24%. But while that is good for us, you know, it's a zero-sum game. Somebody else is not getting their fair share. So we actually need to increase the pool. But once they get to Chevron, we have diversity action plans that nurture employees and hold managers accountable. We have employee networks. We have over 700 mentor pairs where we mentor both upward and downward, senior and junior employees. And then we have sponsorships where diverse employees and other high potential employees are sponsored. And then once they have arrived and show potential and performance, we have all the leadership development programs, such as the Emerging Leader Program, the Early Executive Potential Program, the High Potential Program, and the forums. And that basically leads to our business results. One of the ways that you can measure how engaged your employees are is by employee engagement surveys. And I know many of us conduct that, and we're very proud of our results. 91% of our female employees reported that they support the values and goals of the organization and felt a sense of pride in an attachment to Chevron. This is a 12% increase, but more importantly, if you compare it to the various comparator groups, the 91% compares to 87% for best-in-class companies, 85% for high-performance companies, and 82% for the high-performance norms. So what has all of this done? Well, we've gone from 24% hiring of women to 28%, where the end number has actually increased. That was 28% of 1,000, of 4,000, and the 24% number was 24% of 1,000. Mid-level leadership has increased from 15.1% to 18.7%, and our senior leadership is almost at 20%. So that's the story of the Chevron Way. I encourage you to share your results with me and your ideas. One of the requirements of the Catalyst Award is to go out and share your story. And this very different model of linking diversity to compensation, linking diversity to performance, making it part and parcel of how you measure your performance, making the diversity action plan that's a specific, measurable, actionable, relevant, and time-bound list of objectives from everyone down to the CEO. Those are some things that we have done that has moved the needle for us. We've had about 30 to, I think it's about 40 requests to come and talk to various people, including I noticed that UPS was one of your sponsors. We've been to talk to the UPS CEO and his leadership team, and Walmart and Chubb and many others. And actually, we have learned more than we have imparted. So I hope you great success in your diversity journey. While it is the right thing to do, it is absolutely critical to achieving superior business results. Thank you very much.